Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here. This is episode 5, playing as the German Empire in Millennium Dawn, which is a modern-day mod for Hearts of Iron 4. It is the summer of 2006, and we are sitting, I feel, in quite a nice position as I have my own faction, which now includes the largest nation on Earth, China. I feel like that gives me just a little bit of protection were there to be an issue of war with anyone. Then again, I've seen that before, how quickly alliances can crumble and people can turn their back on you. So I'm not going to completely rely on that. I'm going to continue to build up my strength, build up my army, and put myself in as strong a position as possible. I'm also adding alliances in South America and Africa in the coming months, focusing on Africa right now. But we'll keep on building up the army. Looks like once again I have completed all of my civilian factory orders down to the last 2. So we're going to continue to build up a few military factories, although I'm starting to get to the place where I don't have room to do much more of that. So we're going to hit our limits as far as what I can do within the borders of Germany without making some other changes. So I'll have to look at some things in my national focus. There's some things I can do over here as far as military buildup goes that will allow me to have some more building slots. And that'll help a little bit. But we'll keep building things up, and we'll see what events unfold in the world. So I've queued up a few things that are going to help with the efficiency of my production. Since I'm going to be limited fairly soon on how many factories I can have, the one thing I can do then is focus on how efficient those factories are. We're going to get some more units into the field, and that's going to get me up to 64 divisions now. Now, obviously, they are not fully equipped because I've been rushing them into the field without everything they need, so I desperately need more mechanized, light mechanized, motorized, and main battle tanks. So I'm working on that. I also have a lot of upgrades that need to happen. So, just looking at some of these units to see kind of how well equipped they are. You can see they're right around 61, 65, 67, 75%. So, a lot of them need more equipment, but that shouldn't be a big deal right now. That's something I can focus on when my manpower gets a little lower and when I run out of factories. Just looking ahead, nothing coming up for another month as far as training or as far as research goes. We are, however, getting close on Africa, and I think what I'll do next, I don't know if I can do, I can do this. Okay, so there's some things I can do here to work on infrastructure, naval bases. Let's see what this is. Oh, there's more building slots there in Brandenburg. So there's a few things I can do over here to help build things up. There's more I can do with the military buildup. But looking at diplomacy, now that I've allied China, I can go befriend the former colonies and then allies in Africa. So I'll probably do those 2, and then I'll turn back to focusing on some of the things I can do for my economy after that. It is now the end of August of 2006. Alright, so as we get into September of 2006, I've gone ahead and I'm trying to spend down some of this massive amount of political power I have. So I've added a few things like a military theorist that'll give me some army experience gain, a commerce rating specialist for the Navy, just some things that I know I could use at some point down the road. Alright, so there's our focus on Africa. We're going to go ahead and go befriend the former colonies. That's going to start improving my opinion with a lot of them and eventually work toward the idea of actually making some allies down in Africa. Let's just kind of review the diplomatic situation a little bit. First we got to deal with... So this trade issue has been increasing all the time because as I get more military factories into the field, which I'm now up to 65, it requires more and more resources to produce all the things that I need to produce. Mostly right now focusing on things like infantry equipment and then the mechanized and motorized and tanks that I need. Alright, so anyway, diplomacy. Of course, NATO Wait, oh no, I'm sorry, that's why. Alright, so NATO's down to just Iceland, Norway, and the United States at this point. So it's all but ceased to exist as a major world alliance. Social Democratic rally doesn't really affect me all that much. We have some outdated equipment in production. Okay, so what did we just upgrade? Our anti-tank. So we're going to go to improved anti-tank now, and that kind of resets the production efficiency a little bit, but that'll get all the way back up. It can get all the way to 95%, which is nice. So I can be really efficient with my factories. All right, so NATO's just got those 3 now. Let's see if the London Pact has anything more than still just the UK. We've got the CSTO, which is just Russia and Tajikistan. And, of course, the major countries of the world that it's listing right now, we've got the UK, the United States, Russia, Japan, India, Germany, France, and China. Of those countries, we've got a lot of communist nations now. I mean, the list has grown substantially since the beginning of this game. Socialists, we've got a few. Mexico, Spain, Korea. So it's saying just Korea. Korea didn't. Hold on a second here. I gotta get to the right place. Okay, no, it's just that we've got one known as Korea, and the other one is just known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So, all right, so back to research. I'm doing a lot of these things here just to get caught up on things to do with industry. But there's really not much more I can go to now without being too far ahead. I'm really just out of good options right now as far as research goes. We've got a few things we can do here with support battalions. I guess we'll focus on that. All right, we're into October, so not a lot happening in the world right now. I guess maybe at some point we're going to have to make something happen. I just want to make sure that I'm in a position of strength before I do that, especially before I go doing something like invading Austria again. I'm thinking maybe the way to go is to look toward... Oh no, Poland's part of my alliance. We can't do that. Maybe the communist nation of Western Slovakia? I don't know. Oh, no, it's not Western Slovakia. It's just Slovakia. But maybe Slovakia is the way to go. But I'm feeling like I want to do something. We've got the Empire of the Dutch over here. They're fascists. Maybe no one would miss us attacking a fascist nation? I don't know. I'll tell you what. We'll go ahead and at least justify a war goal. That doesn't mean I have to use it. But at least it gives me that option. And then once again, we're getting caught up on these things. So I'm going to look at infrastructure real quick. And get everything up a little higher because I want to be able to move my military fast if it comes to that, and infrastructure helps do that. I'm going to go ahead and... Nah, I don't have a lot of options here. Maybe a couple more oil refineries, and then we'll kind of decide from there what to do. All right, let's look at infantry equipment. There's a few other things I can do to improve those things. All right, we'll start justifying this war against the Dutch. So this is rather interesting. I started justifying the war against the Dutch, and immediately France has moved a bunch of units up into position with a battle plan to attack the Empire of the Dutch. That's really interesting. I don't remember that happening on the game before the latest, the Cornflakes update, so maybe that's something new with the latest update. I'm only going to queue up 16 divisions. I think between that and what France has, that should be enough to get in there and get the job done. And then on top of that, I'll just use the rest of my divisions as kind of a garrison, and I'll garrison kind of my borders to protect just in case somebody decides to do something by invading me up in the north. So we'll get all that ready, but I just thought that was really interesting that the French have already moved into position with a battle plan with 14 divisions. Okay, we've completed Befriend the Former Colonies. So we're going to go one more here. We're going to go Allies in Africa. We're going to invite some nations to the Berlin Alliance just in time for possible war with the Dutch. Like I said, I don't know for sure whether or not I'm going to do that. I want to keep my options open right now. And while I'm thinking about it, we've got the communists of Belgium that may not be far behind. So those are the two countries I'm looking at right now. We're going to put a claim on a core state. That actually may happen first. So we're just going to focus on those two. I'm not going to do anything more than that because those two are right there next to my allies, the French. I just feel like that might be an easy target for me if I decide to expand by war. Alright, so out of an abundance of caution, I'm queuing up the first of what will become my, I guess it's not so much an Atlantic wall as a North Sea wall, so to speak. We're going to start building some fortifications on the north side, because that's where I'm most concerned about an invasion coming if someone decides that they're unhappy with a decision that I make. So we'll do that, continue and have to trade for more rubber. I'm going to have to start looking at my Navy as well and making sure that everything is kind of set up as I need it to be for my Navy. A bunch of destroyers right there. So I know right now my Navy's just kind of sitting in port. But I'll have to kind of figure out what I want to do with all of that when the time comes. My goodness. I already issued orders for that. Alright, so let's take a look real quick and see what the dates are that we're looking at for these justifications to be complete. It looks like Belgium, end of May 2007. And the Dutch will be just a week later in June. So kind of historic, because I think it was May and June of 1940 when those invasions happened historically. Alright, so we have completed our invitation to the former African colonies. Looks like Marxist Togo has rejected it. The Kingdom of Tanzania accept. Namibian Empire accepts. State of Cameroon accepts. So we've got 3 new allies in Africa, so that's good. And rather now than focus on South America, we are instead going to go over here just for a little while and focus on some things related to our economy. We're just a couple of months away from a decision to make about what to do with the Dutch. I'm leaning toward war in both of these cases, but I'm not sure. And the problem is I've got my troops lined up to face off against the Dutch, but I think that it's actually the Belgians that I'm going to complete my justification for first. So I may go ahead and switch that over because I also have a better justification against them because I actually have core territories, and that might be a little bit easier for the rest of the world to tolerate than me declaring war just for the simple goal of expanding my territory for no good reason. So I think I may go ahead and reissue orders, have these attack troops come over here and line up on the border with the Belgians instead. Okay, we've got a major issue that I believe is going to preempt everything. And this is huge, and by huge I mean this is like World War III huge, if it happens the way I think it would historically if this really happened. China has invaded Taiwan. Now that is a big kind of crossing the Rubicon moment for China, who unfortunately I have allied with. So, let's take a look and see what this means for me. The U.S. has backed Taiwan, so I don't know if this means that the U.S. and Taiwan are at war. It says the People's Republic of China has demanded that the United States order its forces in the West Pacific to stand down, warning the U.S. not to intervene if the People's Liberation Army takes necessary actions to eliminate subversive elements in the province of Taiwan. Taiwan vows resistance. China goes to war. Okay, so far it's just China declaring war on Taiwan. Now, if you're not familiar with all of this, Taiwan is right here off the coast, and they claim to kind of be the democratic, the legit government of China. And, of course, China claims that Taiwan is part of their nation. And so there's a big, big mess here if this ends up drawing the U.S. into war, which I don't think it has so far. However, I'm really hoping China doesn't ask me to get involved in this, because this could go ugly really, really fast. So let's take a look real quick and just see. Ethiopia and Eritrea are still at war. I'm surprised that one hasn't already resolved itself. It looks like no borders have really changed hands there. This one I think is going to go quickly in favor of China. Okay, yeah. China is at war with the United States. Wait, and I'm in on this too? No. I don't want to be part of this war. Please tell me I'm not at war with the U.S. Alright. So making allies with China I thought was protecting me. Instead, it appears it may be... Okay, no. Alright, so, interesting. The state of China... Wait, Taiwan just joined NATO. Awesome. And now China has called me to arms in a war against the United States. Yeah. This is not going to make me a friend to the Chinese people, but I've got to say no. There's no way on God's green earth I'm going to war with the United States right now. It just ain't happening. I'm sorry, China. This alliance I made with you was all supposed to be about me, and now you go and turn it around and make it about you. No. I've got my own issues to deal with over here. I've got to deal with a much smaller foe in the Belgians. I want to deal with Belgium. I don't want to deal with this big old war out there. Wow, this is going to be a really interesting one to watch. You've got basically the world's two strongest superpowers at war with each other. That's insane. And there's 42 divisions sitting on that island in Taiwan. Wow, it'll be interesting to see how that one shakes out. All right, so checking in on this war, the nations that have actually gone to war, you've got Taiwan shown as the Chinese state, United States, Iceland, and Norway. On the other side, you've got China, Hong Kong, Macau, France, Poland, and Luxembourg are all in on this war. So it's going to be interesting to see because my two biggest allies here in Europe are both involved in this war, and that war includes Norway. So you see that they're rushing troops up there. So I'm staying out of this one so far. At some point that may change, but for now it is most definitely not changing. However, what that does mean is that I'm not going to get a lot of help from France in dealing with my own little project here, which is coming up in just a couple of months. So we're going to have to keep an eye out on this. I can't believe the world tension. There's no way in the world that world tension would only be 16% if NATO went to war with China. It just would not happen. I mean, that would basically be World War III at that point. But it's kind of interesting to kind of watch. It looks like fielded manpower. Obviously, China's got more, but gosh, come on. China can field way more than 3 million people. They've got 407 total factories, which is more than the U.S. They've got 266 divisions, which is more than the U.S. Gosh, boy, that's going to be an interesting one to watch. Let's see what's happening. Have they taken... I'm surprised they haven't already landed on Taiwan and taken it. They do have a huge surface fleet that looks like is already involved in some war here. Interesting. All right, well, if anything interesting happens with that, we'll check back in. All right, national focus completed. We can go infrastructure or a couple of naval bases. Either way, it gets me down to the same place. And eventually we can go Polish workforce in Germany, but I haven't befriended Poland. I'm not sure I still can. I think I went a different route there. No, I can still do that. No, because I befriended Russia. Okay, so yep, can't go that route. Alright, maybe now's the time to go ahead and focus on South America, just to be extra safe and add all the allies that I can. And it's still just now the middle of April, but I'm curious to check in on the war and see if anything of interest has happened there. It looks like it's still a status quo. Casualties actually very small. Just 2,600, and those are probably mostly, those are Norwegian troops going up against French troops, apparently. So that's really the only major front in the war where there's actually action happening is here in Norway. And the French are kind of attempting to land right now. I do feel a little jealous that I'm not involved in that, but that doesn't gain me territory by being involved in a huge war like that, so I'm really reluctant to get involved. Okay, so I'm just 2 weeks away from being able to declare war on Belgium. And as you can see, it looks like my allies, including China, apparently China's got troops in Norway, which is kind of cool if you think about it. We're going to build up these coastal forts some more. But it looks like things are starting to move a little bit in the favor of my country now, obviously, or of my allies. Obviously, it's way too early to tell what that could possibly mean moving forward. But just kind of looking at the early stages of this war, you can see that it's going pretty well. The U.S. has already lost 100,000 men. I mean, that's what they lost in the entirety of their involvement in World War I. Now, obviously, the U.S. was only involved in the late stages of that war, but it's kind of amazing to think about that. I mean, the U.S., the most that we've lost in a war outside of our own Civil War was World War II, where it was about 400,000. Now, obviously, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what countries of Europe have lost in wars, but that would be huge for the United States to have a war in which that many people were lost. And so far they've avoided what started all of it, which is Taiwan. So I'm kind of curious to see where it is that China, it looks like they've got plans for invading Hawaii. They've even got plans, it looks like, for troops over here in South America. And Alaska as well. So that's going to be interesting to see when those things actually unfold. But we're about 5 days away now. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. I feel like this other war kind of gives me the cover that I need to be able to go ahead and launch this attack on the Netherlands, or on Belgium. So we're going to get that going here in just a second. I feel like I want more men than this, though. I just don't have a field marshal, I don't think. All right, there it is. Okay, let's do this. We're going to retake our core state. We're not going to call our allies. Germany goes to war with Belgium. I've got air wings with no missions, so we're going to get those things going here. I think I've got enough. I've already assigned a bunch of air wings to do all this. So, all right, let's do it. Let's see what happens. I feel like once I break through, they'll fall pretty quickly. And yeah, I haven't called any of these other nations to war. I feel like I can handle it. They've only got 107,000 in manpower. Enemy has air superiority in Hanover. Well, that's not going to be allowed to stand that way. There we go. Problem solved. Alright, we're going to break through. And I feel like it's just going to happen really quick now. Now, alright, so we got a Lend-Lease. Sure, why not? So who wants to join? No, I don't want to join wars. So my African allies wish to join in, as do some of my European allies. Okay, cool. As long as we're not joining this war with that other one that we won't even talk about right now. Okay. So we'll get allies, but we're not going to need them. This war's going to be over before they could even get into position to help. But Namibia, Portugal, Cameroon, Luxembourg, and Tanzania. And look at that. Belgium has just joined NATO. How convenient for you, Belgium. So far, they haven't called the U.S., Norway, or Iceland to war, but Norway and Iceland are going to be out of this war sooner rather than later. I just want to get Belgium out of the way and be done with this war so that I don't end up getting merged with the other one. China's going to send me some equipment, so that's cool. Alright, so I've lost 319 men while inflicting 24,000 casualties, which is fully 1/4 of their army. So this really could not go better so far. And here we go. Alright, so that just got ugly super fast. We are now at war with the U.S., with Iceland, with Norway. So, even though I wanted to avoid all of that, the inevitable has happened. So, I got to take a minute to kind of regroup here now that all of that's happening. And, of course, obviously, we've got the other war against Holland, which I'll wait until Belgium has been conquered. But at this point, gosh, who's counting? We're at war with half the world. It's World War III. I cannot believe that the world tension is a measly 18%. Now, so far, I'm hoping that this war stays separate. Because if this war stays separate, I guess in theory, once I conquer and I achieve my war goals, it ought to be over, right? I mean, that's what I'm hoping, is I can get out of this and I don't have to be kind of counted in that other war. And we're going to find out here in a second when I finish taking out. It doesn't look like it's working that way. Because I'm about to finish off Belgium. And it doesn't appear that it's going to matter. Alright, Belgium has capitulated. And that means absolutely nothing for the war, because the war drags on. Iceland and Norway will be next. I guess I'll have to start focusing on sending troops there, but first I want to deal with the Netherlands. But I'm going to take a second, regroup, get some new orders issued, get everything kind of sorted, and then I'll come back with that next war. Alright, so Spain wants to join in the war, I guess. So you can basically say at this point that this is World War III. I mean, there's no getting around that, really. So I guess what I need to do at this point is, one of the things I need to do is get my Navy fired up and get them going. We'll start doing some trade interdiction, because that's really about all my Navy's going to be good for, and I still may lose a lot of them. So it's a pretty big Navy, but it's all destroyers and submarines. And I'm guessing it'd probably be better to not have them all in one like this, but we'll at least get them going here around the North Sea. Let's see, what can we do? Convoy raiding, yeah. So we can cut off the enemy's ability to make war and hurt his supplies. So I guess we'll see how that works out. In the meantime, my allies are doing quite nicely. They're moving on Oslo. I could probably send some troops up there, but honestly, I'm kind of in cover my butt mode, and I have just moved my troops into position to go ahead and attack the Dutch. And obviously, the Dutch immediately joined NATO, which we kind of expected at this point they would do, but they're going to cease to exist within a week or two at most. So we'll kind of watch this for just a minute, but this is obviously not going to last very long either. What do we got going on up here? We've got our first naval action. Okay. So we're running into a couple of U.S. destroyers, which we're going to take care of in short order. And just like that, the Dutch have capitulated. I was counting on them to be an easy conquer, and they did not disappoint. And my apologies, because I know, listen, this is a fictional world. I love the Netherlands. I would very much like to visit it. So I know some of you out there that are watching this are living in Belgium and are living in the Netherlands, because I've talked to you. And please do not let this reflect on you in any way that I've done this. It's just a fictional world. Yeah, so we've got some free factories now. And I'll probably have to rethink how I'm using these at some point, but for now we're just going to kind of press on. Alright, so let's take a look at the state of things. These are still listed as separate wars, which is kind of interesting, but I've only lost about 2,000 men so far. It looks like China's lost more, but everything's kind of static at the moment. Now, at least for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and just reassign all of my troops to garrison duty, but we're going to have to add to that garrison. We're going to have to kind of extend our front a little bit here to include more of the coastline. And then I'll have to build my Atlantic wall a little further as well. But we'll guard the coast for now. Everything's pretty safe down in here. Poland and France are my allies. Alright, whoa, what's going on here? Okay. So it looks like that particular war is going to be over after all. We definitely want to take all states. Oh, I don't have enough to do that. Okay, I guess I got to share I don't want to share. Okay, there we go. Alright, we can't quite do that yet. Do I have the points now? I guess not. I'm not used to not being able to just do everything that I want to do. Alright, so who did I have to share with? Oh, Wallonia just kind of became their own kind of independent nation. Alright, that's fine, no problem. Are they still... Oh, no, they're part of my alliance now. Okay, sweet, that works. I'm okay with this. Alright, so let's kind of take a look and see where things are now. It looks like Norway's not long for this world. Iceland's the same way. The U.S. is... That's not the U.S., is it? Yeah, okay, so... Those two nations are not going to last long. Alright, so I think that's probably a good place to stop for now. We're well into World War III, so I would love to hear your thoughts. Where do you think I should go next? Should I just sit home and defend? Should I get actively involved? Maybe I should at least send an expeditionary force, maybe to go help out in Norway. I'm thinking maybe I at least ought to do that as long as I feel like I'm safe and not in danger of being invaded here at home. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on where I should go next, what I should do next. It seems like I was able to do that little bit of expansion without too much difficulty. I mean, the options are there to expand elsewhere down in here. I don't think at this point that the U.S. is going to make too much of a stink or do much about me going after the Czechs or the Austrians. But if we can get world tension high enough, I might be able to just add some of those nations to my alliance. So let me know what you think. Use the comment section below. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.